Man, so did you guys see this Dave Chappelle thing? If you haven't seen that, Dave Chappelle just made this special. It's on, I think it's on the Netflix YouTube channel. Just go to YouTube and search for Dave Chappelle. It's the first thing that comes up. Um, wow, that was that was uh, that was pretty strong. Um, he called he called Candace Owens. Oh man, what did he call all kinds of words? But my favorite was the most articulate idiot out there. Number one at incarceration. Damn right. Yeah. So, oh man, this was it was awesome. It was hilarious, but it was so true. He was talking about how this one got me. Like as soon as he said Chris Dorner, I was like, what? Like he's as soon as he said Chris Dorner, I was like Chris Dorner? Is he really about to talk about Chris Dorner? Um, does everybody here know who Chris Dorner is? Dave Chappelle said the name Chris Dorner, and like that's when I just kind of like I looked up from what I was doing, and I was like, "Oh, this guy's about to drop some real shit." So he went and told the story about Chris Dorner about he's this cop who got fired because he saw something that was wrong and he tried to stop it, and so he was the good cop and he got fired because of that. And he went through long story short, he went around and he killed a few cops. And he made the point that okay, this guy killed a few cops, and then he barricaded himself in a cabin in Big Bear, and 400 cops showed up and blew him to pieces and burned down the house that he was in. They didn't even confirm that he was dead. They just set the place on fire and just like savages. And now you compare that to what's going on now, and you have people who are burning down cities, who are burning down buildings, police stations, because they're upset because you killed one of theirs. And when you draw that comparison, it absolutely is a double standard. Oh, it's okay for you to get upset when one of your people gets killed, but it's not okay for me to get upset when one of my people gets killed. And by the way, when I say one of my people, I put the I'm on the other side of the line, with the people who have been killed. I'm on the side with Chris Dorner. I'm on the side with George Floyd, um, with Tamir Rice, with uh, everybody, and not just black people, white people who have been killed by police. I'm on that side. Um, the police are on the other side, and they've made that clear with this whole thin blue line thing. Because you can say, "Oh yeah, there's good cops out there." Yeah, sure, there might be. The good cops usually get fired. If they try to do the right thing, they will get fired. But guess what? Now they're not cops, and now they're back on my side with the rest of the people. You have this system. The line has been drawn and war has been declared against us by this thin blue line. I made this post earlier today. Someone sent it to me. It was somebody posted like "Blue Lives Matter." If you don't like it, unfriend me. And some guy commented, "All lives matter." Um, and then he said, "All jobs matter. What about the teachers? What about the fire department? What about this? What about that?" And the cop basically said, and I don't know if this is real, maybe it's made up, but the cop said, "Well, but they're not being attacked right now," which is exactly what the Black Lives Matter people say. Yeah, all lives matter, but all lives are not under attack right now. Black lives are. And you can come up with all these statistics that say like, "Oh yeah, but black people kill themselves at a higher rate," and all. Okay, yeah, fine, whatever. All that shit happens, and white people kill white people, and black cops kill white people, and white cops kill white people. Um, Fine. I really don't care about arguing about the semantics of which racial groups are more prone to killing other racial groups, especially if they're part of the police department or not. What I do care about is it doesn't matter who you kill. If you're a police officer, you will get away with it. Most cases. I see those thin blue line flags everywhere in Santa Clarita. The only thing you really do is roll your eyes. You could set them on fire. I'm just saying, I wouldn't recommend that, but you could. Um, Yeah, it's absolutely insane. But this goes back to the idea of it's a childish defense of it's a childish defense of a bullshit belief system. Um, like you would like if you point out like, look, there's some problems with the police departments. Some of the thin blue line people, they might just say, okay, yeah, fine. There's some problems. It's not perfect. Get over it. We're not going to change anything. Propose them to change them. What if we did this? Nope, 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 nope. Not going to happen. Why? Because that affects them. What are they really worried about? They're worried, well, if you get rid of these protections and I'm just doing my job and I actually fear for my life and I accidentally kill somebody who maybe shouldn't have been killed, I'm worried that I'm going to be prosecuted. Is Trump's Juneteenth racist rally racist? I don't know. He's probably just a fucking idiot. um, if you ask, okay, find yourself this good cop, right? Find yourself this good cop. He exists somewhere. The good cop who, he does the right thing. He doesn't side with the police who kill people. And ask him, how do we fix this system? See if he recommends anything that would actually change anything. Chances are he might say things like, well, maybe better training. Oh, doesn't that sound wonderful? More hours that they don't have to spend working and they can spend in a classroom. Like, think about it like an employee. What does more training sound like? Less work, more sitting through videos. Okay, yeah, for some people. I mean, if you're working in an office, that might not sound like fun. But if you're doing hard labor, then maybe you'll say, well, you know what? Fine, I don't have to lift bricks or wood or whatever for a while. Um, I'll take a break. I'll get to sit in the air conditioning. I don't have to be outside in the sweating sun, in the burning sun. Um, that sounds like a good thing to a lot of people. But ask them, well, what do you think about personal liability insurance? What, like the cops are going to have to pay for it? Well, that's coming out of my paycheck. I don't want that. Propose anything that's going to affect them directly. Now, here's the other interesting thing. This fear, right? This fear of okay, look, I have a dangerous job, I'm armed with a gun, I go out, there are all these problems, and I haven't been in a really bad situation yet, but that situation might just happen, and when it does, and I have to pull my gun out and aim it at somebody, I don't want to be afraid that if I accidentally kill somebody too soon, that I'm going to be charged with a crime. And so therefore we should be protected from these types of mistakes. And they'll defend themselves on that. And okay, yeah, that sounds fine. That makes sense. But as many times as I've heard police officers say, I'm just doing whatever I have to do to make sure I get home to my family every day. What about the people on the other side of your gun? Isn't it your job to protect and serve? And I know that's a lie, that's a myth. But isn't it your job to protect and serve those people who are at the other end of your gun? And so, is it your job to make sure that you get home, even if it costs the lives of 1,000 civilians per day? Or is it your job to make sure those civilians get home, even if it costs you your life, because that's your job and that's what you signed up for? Sorry. Nobody forced you to become a police officer. Nobody put a gun to your head and said, we want you to go out and start a fight with this guy because he has expired license plates. Nobody told you to do that. You did that because you thought it was a wonderful, glorious job and you'd be protecting your neighborhood, and women love guys in uniform and whatever. But your dad was a cop. All these reasons you might have. Which, by the way, if your dad was a cop and your grandfather was also a cop, and it's one of those things like everyone in my family has been a police officer, your grandparents and great-grandparents were probably racist cops who were running around capturing slaves. So that's the family legacy that you're carrying on. So nobody forced you. Nobody came to your house, put a gun to your head, and said, you're going to go join the police department. You're going to go out into the world. You're going to find people breaking very small laws and putting their lives in danger. Nobody did that to you. But you went and got this job. You were trained in this job. You learned what you had to do. You learned that you would have to go out, find innocent people who have done absolutely nothing wrong, absolutely no harm to anybody else. You would have to find these people. You would have to put them in a confrontation with a man with a gun. That's you, right? These people were off minding their own business until you came along. You learned that this is your training and this is what you're supposed to do, and you are supposed to enforce these laws on people. And no matter how small the law is, you have to make sure that they do not get away with it by escalating things. Oh, that guy's running from you because he stole a soda from a grocery store? He's running from you. We can't let him get away. Pull your gun out and shoot him. That's what you're trained, right? At all costs, do not let the guy get away. Chase him down to the end of the world, start a physical fight with him, and if he fights back and tries to defend his life because all he stole was a little candy bar, you have the right to kill him. And you learned those rules, and you decided it would be a good idea for you to stay on the police force anyway. It would be okay for you to go out into the world and find these people who were bothering nobody and pick a fight with them over some bullshit. Oh, you didn't pay your $50 to renew your tag. Your insurance is expired. We're going to take your car away. We are going to pry your property out of your hands, even though you didn't harm anybody, based on the small chance that you might have. This is what you are doing, and you're okay with that. You are the instigator. You are creating these dangerous situations. You are creating these problems. And people are pissed off about it. I'm one of those people. And this line in the sand that separates you from us, you drew that line. You created that. There's this thing that they train you. You know about this if you're a cop. They train you this. Treat every person that you stop and encounter as a criminal. Because you have no idea. They might have warrants. They might be criminals. They might be mass murderers on the run. But we're supposed to be innocent until proven guilty. You're supposed to have probable cause to stop us. But no. You go with the training that says, protect your life. You never know. If you stop 100,000 people, one of them might be crazy. They might pull out a gun and they might shoot at you. Okay. That's what you're trained. That training is literally drawing a line in the sand. That's your training, and you've accepted it, and you've decided to keep your job. Even though you've sworn an oath to the Constitution. When a paycheck supersedes your sacred oath. Yep. That's the thin blue line. And even if you have a slightly different perspective of that, of what that thin blue line is, that's how everybody else sees it. And I know there's other people who are not part of law enforcement, but they still snort that thin blue line. Yeah, these are generally people who they've got friends and family who are police. I know a few of them myself. I don't know one single person that really sits around defending the thin blue line and all these police officers who does not have a friend or family in law enforcement. And I know some people in law enforcement, and they're good people. They don't refer to themselves as law enforcers. They refer to themselves as peacekeepers. They don't stop people for bullshit laws. They don't stop people for not bothering anybody. And they're lucky they still have their jobs. Sheriffs, a lot of people don't know this, sheriffs are completely different from police officers, from police departments. A sheriff's office and a police department, are two completely different beasts. A sheriff works for the county and is elected. They are basically the highest executive officer of your county, except for the governor. The police do not work for a constitution. They work for an incorporated city. Let me say that again. An incorporated city. Half of the country lives in unincorporated areas. They do not have police departments. They do not have police protection. They live with sheriffs. If they call 911 and they say someone's breaking into my house, they send the sheriff. The sheriff is elected. Most cities do not elect their police chiefs. They are appointed by their mayors. The mayor is the CEO of the corporation. And a lot of people think, oh, you're trying to like, oh, it's a corporation. It's like conspiracies. No, it is a corporation. It is literally a corporation defined by law as corporation. It is no different than Apple or Google or Hobby Lobby. They're corporations. A corporation is just an organization of people. You have some corporations are nonprofits. They're still corporations, but they're not public traded corporations. They're still corporations. There's a different breed of corporations. Well, that one libertarian, my cousin is a sheriff's deputy. Hey, just keep turning him libertarian. Because I have more respect for sheriffs than I do for police officers. Because sheriffs are typically, not all of them, but they're typically more inclined to be peace officers than law enforcement officers. Not always, but sometimes. But these are corporations. They're different types of corporations. And what is a corporation? A corporation is a legal entity that is separate from any individual. Think about that. A corporation that is separate from any individual. If I start a business and I make a product and I sell you that product, and that product ends up blowing up and burning your house down, you can sue me because I sold you this product and I told you it was safe. My product caused damage to your house. You can sue me for that. If I have a corporation and I make that same product and I sell you that same product as the corporation, you can't sue me. This is the main benefit that people do for creating corporations. It used to be that, big corporations with thousands of employees would do this, but no. Little guys do this too. Mom and pop shops, they incorporate, or they get LLCs, which is basically the same thing, to protect themselves from liability. If a sheriff kills you or kills someone you know, and you sue, you can sue the sheriff himself. If one of his deputies do it, you can sue the sheriff because the deputies are working on sheriff's orders. This is more of an individual thing. If a police officer kills you, and I'm not going to say that there's not qualified immunity with sheriffs. If a police officer kills you, the buck stops at the corporation because he is not an elected public official, an individual. He is an officer of a corporation. An officer of a corporation. That's what police officers are. Rooftop voting. How'd you know where I was? Corporations. Police officers are corporate officers. These are corporations. They are private security for cities which are incorporated. Now, they're not businesses. They're not there to make money, even though they do a really good job at stealing everything from us. They're not businesses like Google or Apple type corporation, but they're corporations, just a different type. Salvation Army is a corporation. It's a different type. Red Cross is a corporation. It's a different type. They have limited liability. They're executors, the people who give the orders to everybody who works for them, who decide how that business, how that organization, how that corporation, how the police department is going to operate, are protected from liability personally because everything is done through the corporation. I have an idea. When people talk about defunding the police department, but it's not really about defunding the police department, although sometimes they do say they'd like to disband them. Get rid of all the police departments. Put everything back in the hands of the sheriff. That's one way to go, because the sheriff has different interests, has different consequences and repercussions for his actions that police officers don't have and police chiefs don't have. That's something to think about. Anyway, guys, I don't know what else to say. I'm gonna head back inside into the air conditioning. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure to share this. I'm gonna repost this on YouTube. Make sure you go to the YouTube channel and subscribe. And check out the other videos I've been posting recently. There's some really good stuff up there. Sorry if my pacing makes you dizzy. That's just something I have to do when I walk and think. This stuff is not scripted. This is what comes out of my brain. This is how I think. Am I running in 2024? Yes, I have already announced officially I'm running for president of the United States with the Libertarian Party in 2024. But before then, I'm running for governor of Texas with the Libertarian Party in 2022. I'll probably start that campaign up around November, once the Libertarians are done rallying around their presidential run right now. We'll see how that goes. There is already a person who I will be running against in the Texas primary for the Libertarian Party. It is not a primary where you go out and vote. It is a primary where Texas has a convention, and if you go to that convention, you could vote for me. But this is what, 2 years out, so we're not doing too much with that right now.